movies for black girl nerds.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good.
So wonderful to meet you.
You too.
Watched this great scary movie last night.
Good.
So I want to know, I know you're like off social media. You don't have Instagram or anything like that. But I always see on your husband social media. So I want to know, do you ever like stroll timeline and see what's going on in social media
Oh, I
world?
lurk for sure. I have a private account, but I love having a lurk around there. Yeah, I definitely have a look at people. I follow a few people, my friends, my family, all of that
Okay,
stuff.
but you just like to keep it private.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I also saw, it was another celebrity, I guess one of your friends, and she thought she was following you on Instagram.
Oh,
but it was
Charlize.
Yes.
I know. She kind of kept like DMing me
Yeah.
like some random Emily Blunt person, but I hope she didn't share anything too personal about herself. I was like, what did you say? What did you tell this person?
So with this movie, of course, the director is your husband. Y'all working together. Didn't have to go home together. How is that working with your husband? He's directing you, then you also have to go home.
We drank a lot of whiskey. I think whiskey's very medicinal, I've realized, to calm your nerves. So we did a lot of that. But it's extraordinary working with him. So I think ultimately if you're working with someone you just have so much admiration for, so much respect for, makes it easier. Can you imagine? It would be very hard if I didn't think he was the jam. It would be very difficult.
Right. And you've played a plethora of movies. What is your favorite genre and why?
I don't have a favorite because it's really hard for me to say that, because I think that you can have bad movies within a genre and then great ones within that same genre. So
is it certain ones that look easier for you?
So, I mean, something like I shot Jungle Cruise, and that was really easy because it was just a wonderful experience and light and funny and beautiful, and you're shooting in Hawaii, and so experience like Quiet Place is so fulfilling and exhilarating, but you're shooting in Buffalo in the summer, you got no shoes on, you look like hell, it's a different level of fun, you know.
And with Quiet Place Part 2, what a lot of people come out with sequels for horror movies, and a lot of times it's kind of the same storyline. So what makes this sequel different than other horror films?
I don't think we looked at it as a sequel. I think we were just looking at it as just this continuation on from the last film, and this huge investment that people have in the family, and what happens now the stakes are ratcheted up even more. The world gets bigger, the world expands, and there's a lot of mileage you can get out of a concept like this of if you make sound then you die. I think there's just an amazing tool for horror. So I think John just saw it as a big opportunity to expand.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for speaking with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
Hi, how are you? I'm well. So in this movie, of course it's a horror film.
Yep.
And it's a sequel. So a lot of horror films come out with sequels. So what makes this one different? Because most of them have the same storyline. So what makes this one different?
Well, for me, it was different because I didn't want to do a sequel. The first movie was so incredibly personal to me. As bizarre as it seems looking at the poster, it was a love letter to my kids. And so when the studio asked me to do a second one, I said no, because what I found out in this process is I was an audience member before I was a writer, director, or an actor. And as an audience member, I'm very weary of sequels. They're usually, they kind of feel like the studio wanted to make a lot more money on the first one, and it doesn't feel organic, and it doesn't feel that it's as good as the first one. And I had this idea to make Millie the lead of the movie. And in doing that, I realized, oh my God, it's not actually going to be a sequel. I could actually continue the story from the first one and get to explore all the things that were so personal to me, like parenthood and this idea of, in the first movie, parents saying to their kids, if you stay with us, we can keep you safe forever, which is a promise that every parent knows will inevitably be broken. And I think when that promise is broken, that's what growing up is.
Right.
For me, it's like when you learn that your parents aren't going to be there forever, that's when you start to grow up. And so this movie became about all those themes of hope and love and protection as the same movie, but through a different lens, which is these kids, and the kids became the heroes of the movie.
Right. And I saw that with directing, you want to expand more in the horror films.
I wouldn't mind. I mean, for me, I grew up being way too much of a scaredy cat to watch horror movies. I mean, I think I'm still haunted by the late 80s, early 90s when I saw all these slasher movies and couldn't sleep. But now, I mean, I think horror and genre has taken on a whole new element. You know, I think that at the end of the day, it's one of the greatest storytelling mediums that we have because it allows you to explore very real stuff like parenthood or, you know, sort of darker times, things like this. But you get to do it in a surreal way. You get to distance the audience from in an arm's length in a good way. And so I don't know why I wouldn't try to do something like that again. I think that the other thing about genre, that word, is that it's sort of a lot of different things. It doesn't necessarily mean the scariest movie you've ever seen. It just means that you can push the envelope of reality a little bit.
Right. And also, I saw that when you did The Office, it kind of put you in a box once it ended. And so now you're not in that box anymore. You're
Awesome.
doing some
Thank
of
you.
everything.
Thank you for
You're
saying
doing
that.
some of everything. But you also stated if they did a reboot, you would be on board.
1,000%.
So why would you want to go back to that after they had put you in the box, after you've got out that box now?
Very simply, 2 reasons. One is that show gave me absolutely everything. That I am the luckiest guy you'll ever meet because of that show. I was a waiter. I was waiting tables when I got that show. And that show expanded my whole world. It gave me every opportunity to do all these things that I love. So there's a version of this that I owe that show my life. But much more importantly, because that was such a formative moment in my life, those people, that crew and that cast are my family in a way that I haven't had a family before. I mean, I obviously have a great family, a real family, but I to spend any more time with them would be great. So I don't look at it as going back. I look at it as getting to delve back into a world that made me so very happy.
Well, thanks for speaking with me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.